What's going on, everybody? GentleBen94 here, and welcome to another edition of Ben Builds. Today we are going to be talking about working with decals. As you can see, no decals on the bottom of the aircraft. No stencils, no markings, no nothing. So our plan for today is going to be decaling this model. So first things we're going to do, though, we're going to separate the basic decaling procedures down into three parts. We're going to talk about basic tools that you need. We're going to talk about preparation of the model, and then we're going to talk about application of decals. But I'm going to go over step by step what I do when putting on decals onto a model. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about tools. What tools are you going to need to go ahead and get this job done efficiently and effectively? Well, starting out, we're going to use basically a set of tweezers. And these are your standard reverse action tweezers. Great for holding objects without having to put constant pressure. As you can see right here, holding a decal, and I'm not putting any pressure to actually hold the decal. Next, we're going to need a wide bristled soft brush. This is going to be used for spreading decal setting solutions. So you can see, nice and soft. Moving on, we're actually going to use Q-tips or cotton swabs, whatever you prefer to call them. This is going to be for blotting up extra water and setting solution. Speaking of setting solutions, we are going to need two different ones. We're going to start with Micro Set. Micro Set is a very gentle decal setting solution, great for application before the decal goes on. Next, we're going to have its older brother, Micro Sol. Now, Micro Sol is a hotter solution. It will actually melt the decal to have it conform to any panel lines and raised detail. So always good to have caution with those. Next, we're going to basically use a pin vise. One end of this has a little needle chucked into the end of it here, right there. And the other side has a drill bit, which I use for larger vents or gun ports or anything like that. I don't use it very often, but it's a good thing to have. You're going to be using the pin here on this side. If you use Micro Sol and you come up with an air bubble, you use that to go ahead and poke a hole where the air bubble is. Sometimes give it a little twist, pull it out. Just go ahead and get that air bubble out. Then, of course, a hobby knife. Some sort of hobby knife that you can use in case you wanted to scrape something off a model or slice off some flashing or something. Moving on. Toothpick. You wouldn't think so, but a toothpick. I use that to place very small, delicate decals. And then, of course, scissors. You can use those to cut your decals out of the decal packaging. Let's talk preparation. What do we have to do to get this model ready for decals? First things first, make sure that the entire model has been painted the way you want it to be painted. Everything is pre-shaded or post-shaded. Don't weather the aircraft and then put decals on. Put decals on before you weather the aircraft. Go ahead and coat the model with a clear gloss coat. I prefer to use Johnson's Future Floor Wax, which is self-leveling, nice, durable, glossy finish. Let that cure for about 24 to 48 hours. After that is gloss coated and it's cured, you're ready to put the decals on. Now, when you're applying your decals, you're going to want to pick a point on the model and start there, and then work your way, say, either to the right, or to the rear of the plane, or the front of the plane. Always work in a certain direction. Figure out what decal you need to place on, hook it onto your tweezers, and dip it in water for about 5 seconds. While you're waiting for that to go ahead and release off of the backing, grab your decal setting solution, in this case Micro Set. Take your brush, dip it into the Micro Set, get off any excess here. Then we're just going to go ahead and paint the area that the decal is going to be going with the Micro Set. Set the brush aside. Using my toothpick here, I'm just going to hold down the edge of it and slide the backing right off the decal. Then I just usually roll the Q-tip across the decal. Don't pull the decal because you will distort it or you will shift it out of place. So once you're satisfied with the placement of the decal, microsol is going to be used to give it more of a painted on look. Same process as the microset. Dip your brush into the microsol and just draw it across the decal. Don't put too much on, but put enough on that you cover the whole decal. Okay, so we have the stencils completed on the Seafire using that same application that I showed you before. We've got the stencils, the wing strut brace locations, we've got the flaps marked out. So we're looking good. I mean, it's already kind of bringing a little more character to the model. So next we're going to place on probably the hardest of the decals. That's going to be the naval rondel that the British used during the Pacific Theater, World War II. So this is the decal we're going to be placing. This is the last decal we have to put on this model before we can let it go ahead and cure. So again, simple pattern. Clamp the decal, dip it in the water for about 5 seconds. Once it's wet, just leave it hooked to the tweezers. Into the microset, we dip our brush, clean it up a little bit there, and we're going to paint the area. Decal should be set, ready to go. Make sure I know where I'm putting this. Now, normally I'd use a toothpick or something, but this is a really big decal, so I'm going to use my finger on this one. I'm going to line it up, kind of pinch it, and just slip off the backing. There we go. Adjust it a little bit. Looking good. Line it up, match it up. Okay. I don't like touching the decal with my fingers, but decals like this big, it's hard to get anything moving around with a toothpick. So again, I'm just going to roll the cotton swab across the decal. Careful not to shift it, just basically tamping it down so that it will be secured. Paint the entire thing with microsol, but once we put this microsol on here, the decal itself will start to shrivel. It'll start to wrinkle. It'll actually become slightly deformed. That's okay. That's normal. Make sure that the whole decal is covered with microsol. We have to make sure that our decal will adhere and conform to those surface details. The microset, microsol combination should do the trick. Okay, it's been about 25 minutes, and we're going to take a look at our decal. As you can see, it looks pretty good actually. I used my pin vise to open up 2 of the shell ejection ports here on the underside of the wing that are of course in the most inconvenient locations, but I just took my pin vise, poked a little hole, and just opened up the area. That being said, we have the stencils on. We have our main rondel British marking on. Shell ejection ports are opened up. I'm pleased with the way it turned out. I'm hoping that it was helpful for people to see the process. This isn't really for experienced model builders. This is more for the beginners who just kind of want to know, how do you put decals on? So there you have it. The 1/48 scale Seafire, decaled, ready to go. So after this, we're going to let this cure for probably about 24 to 48 hours. Then we're going to hit it with gloss coat. Now, thanks for watching. Hope to see you back. Thanks again.